This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra at digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G, just a touch. And coming up, renowned man of God Archbishop Duncan Williams leads members of Peace Council to mediate first of planned crucial meetings between governing NPP and opposition NDC over disbandment of party militias.
The time has come to put an end to the phenomenon of politically related violence.
We will be there, and it is our hope that we will achieve some strides.
It's time for all of us to sit around the table.
We'll get a live update from our reporter at the venue where the national executives of both parties are in attendance. Also, security officials at the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, serve notice they will shoot to kill saboteurs who attempt to destroy their pylons.
We just want to use your media to tell those who are doing this, those who don't want the good of Ghana, to be very careful in what they intend to do, because we are ready. We have the soldiers, and I know that we have rules of engagement, but we will not hesitate if arrest is not possible to shoot to kill.
Meanwhile, the company denies responsibility for the current intermittent outages being experienced in some parts of the country.
I wouldn't say that this has affected, is the cause of outages that is going on. That is a fact. That's the fact. This is not affecting anything.
Details coming up. Also, 9 months after a flooded bridge washed his wife away, leaving a family heartbroken and a community angered. Our checks reveal little or nothing has been done to change situations there.
As the
resident said, there's still a lot more work to be done.
Stay for details. We have the latest as husband of the woman who was washed away by the Sunday flood has been narrating the final moments they tried fleeing from the rising water levels at their residence. We have sports.
And Kumasi Asante Kotoko say it's far from confirmed that 2 of their players will be leaving the club despite opening negotiations with Zambian side Zesco United.
And minority in parliament demands government suspends plans to officially inaugurate the $2 billion Sino-Hydro project tomorrow as they raise concerns about the absence of a value for money audit. Details coming up here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau.
The time has come to put an end to the phenomenon of politically related violence. I want to use the platform of this message to make a sincere, passionate appeal to the leaders of the 2 main political parties to come together as soon as possible to agree on appropriate measures to bring an end to this worrying and unacceptable phenomenon of vigilantism.
President Akufo-Addo on February 21 directed leaders of the 2 main political parties, the NDC and NPP, to meet over the disbandment of their militia groups. Although there's been what has been described as feet dragging by the parties since, the first steps towards the much anticipated meeting takes place today. Joy News understands renowned man of God Archbishop Duncan Williams is part of the delegation from the Peace Council mediating the meeting, which began earlier today. Shortly, we'll cross live to my colleague Kojo Yankson, who is monitoring that meeting for the latest. But first, listen to Chairman of the Peace Council, Most Reverend Emmanuel Asante, on what to expect in today's meeting.
A technical meeting involving committee members from the NDC, MPP. They are meeting to discuss terms of reference and terms of engagement. Then we'll be in a position to tell the public the venue and the timing for the mediation.
Now, let's cross over to the Central Hotel here in Accra where that meeting is taking place and speak to Kojo Yankson, who's been there all morning for the very latest. Kojo, first give us a blow-by-blow account of what has been happening this morning.
Well, it's actually a rather quiet and somber affair. The event or the meeting started very close to 10 a.m. And as soon as all of the attendants entered the conference room, it became rather quiet. There are a few members of the press who are lingering, hovering around and hoping to catch a glimpse of some of the attendees. They have come out on a coffee break just once since the meeting began. But all of them were tight-lipped, refused to speak to the press. They rushed back into the meeting without sharing any comments about how it is going. I, however, have had the opportunity to speak to some of their aides and assistants who have been dipping in and out of the meeting since it began. And it appears that both political parties represented here are acting very amicably towards each other. They are sharing ideas. They appear to be quite open and honest so far. And this meeting, which is meant to just shape the scope of the interaction going forward, seems to have got off to a positive start.
Now, who are attending this meeting? We know that there are representatives from both sides, but who are in this meeting, do we know?
I've had the opportunity to look at the sign-in sheet, and I have a bit of an idea of those who are in attendance. I'll run quickly through the list. For the NDC, we have Kakra Isamwa, we have the Chairman Obusu Ampofo, Asiedun Ketia, the General Secretary, Abraham Amaleba, Kofi Totobi Kwachi, somebody who signed in as K. Upoku. It's not clear who K. Upoku actually is. And then we have, for the NDC, Nana Ato Daze. For the NPP, we have John Bwedu, Dan Boche, Gary Nemako, Rita Asobayire, Samia Uku, Freddie Blay, Mark Upoku, and Yao Boabeng Asamoah. And for the Peace Council, we have Archbishop Duncan Williams, Upoku Nina, Nana SKB Asante, Nana Ejakuma Dufie, George Amo, who is the acting executive secretary. These are the names I've been able to identify. Of course, some of them came with aides and assistants, and they have been going in and out of the meeting.
Such a high-powered delegation there. My colleague Kojo Yankson monitoring events at the Central Hotel here in Accra, where that meeting, the road leading to the disbanding and disarming of party militias is currently underway, and our campaign is still on, and we have hashtag disband party militias now. But meanwhile, chairperson of the NCC, Josephine Nkrumah, has lauded the two parties for their determination to disband political militia and is urging them to see it through.
It is good news for us that finally the parties are submitting to a certain process. But beyond that, we need to wait and know the outcome of the meeting in order to have an informed view on whether we have a process or we are building on a process in hand, or we're going to go back to many correspondence between the two parties. It is also an opportunity for us to test the waters and see whether or not these political parties are acting in good faith, because in the not too distant past, we have had conflicting statements from members of any political party. So in that regard, I think it's important for us to listen to them and then determine which way we are going. But also beyond that, it also serves as an opportunity for other stakeholders to begin to make an input into that process. I don't think that if we leave the two parties alone, they can holistically go through the process of disbandment. They must necessarily rope in or collaborate with other agencies, civil society organizations.
You heard the chairperson of the NCC, Josephine Nkrumah. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now let's cross over to the newly created Savannah region, because the IGP has begun his tour of the region amidst complaints of insecurity on some major roads in the region by GPRTU executives, drivers and some passengers. Ahead of the tour, there have been appeals to the Inspector General of Police, David Asantia Pietu, to help address the increasing rate of armed robbery incidents in Damongo, the capital of the Savannah region, and its environs.
All the time, between Damongo going to Larbanga, there's a gravel pit where armed robbers always attack us. They attacked me twice there. I would have liked, I heard what do you call him? The police boss is coming. I'll plead to him so that he gets us a checkpoint there, so that police will be there, so that robbing case will stop. They are hearing it all the time, but they don't. I don't know why they don't put a checkpoint there.
I've ever been attacked. That was last month. I was on my way coming from Sola, and I saw a gentleman standing by the middle of the road, and he stopped me to say that I should branch inside the gravel pit. And I have no option because he was holding a gun. So I have to follow him to that gravel pit, and I was robbed. And I was even been slapped before. So it's a worry to me. And my worry is that I heard pleading to the IGP if he can do something to get us a checkpoint there, so that the robbery cannot be, they won't be disturbing us.
I went to Sola, from Damongo to Sola, and from Damongo to Sola. I think after you pass by Larbanga, sloping down, that place is very bad. This is the place, or that is one of the places that people gathered or started robbing people. And after you pass by Nasu Ayiri, I think there are other places. Those places too, people are there robbing. From here, when you're going to Tamale, when you pass by Busunu, where there is a place that nobody is close to. I think they are hiding there. One road is west from Sola to Wa. Every day in, day out, we are hearing armed robbery. And Buole too, from Sola to Buole. I think that road is one of the places that a lot of people complain. Also from Buole, when you're going to Tinga.
So you hear there some residents of Damongo. Isaac Nonja is our correspondent and joins us on the line with the very latest from that tour. So Isaac, what has been the IGP's reaction to these calls on him?
Well, IGP, speaking on behalf of the president, was very worried about the increase in the rate of accident on this corridor. He touched on the Damongo, Bupe, Damongo, Sola, and Damongo, Bole. And also, if you look at Sola to Wa, is another spot. He especially encouraged the people in the area, sons and doctors, to volunteer information leading to the arrest of some of the suspects. He also pledged to make do the information they will get when they get back to Accra within a month time. He's on his way to a very hot spot called Gurumpe Serenya. This area that every 1 month or so, you have an incident of armed robbery. And you rightly heard the drivers and some motorists complaining about what is happening. As we speak, the IGP and his storage are on their way to Sola, where they will proceed to Bole before going back to Tamale.
You have our Savannah region correspondent Isaac Nonja there will give you more of that tour of the IGP in that region. Now, moving on, the timely intervention of security personnel of the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, forward what could have been a major effect on the operations of the power distributor VRA and other depots within the power enclave at Tema. This comes just about 2 weeks after some unknown assailants hacked down a pylon belonging to the company. A pipeline belonging to a petroleum company, Cyrus Petroleum Services, was torched by some unknown persons Sunday night. Head of security for Gridco, Major Lawrence Apia, retired, told journalists who were at the site the matter has been reported to the police and investigations have begun. Joy News' Ernest Menu is with the team and joins us on the line. Ernest, what are these lines for and what could have been the impact of this had the assailants succeeded? It looks like we've lost Ernest Menu there on the phone, but we can hear from one of the officials who took them on the tour.
For now, I would say it doesn't pose any danger to the area. Yeah.
So let's say if
fuel were to be in it and then somebody touch it, it will have affected the whole Tema enclave over here. In the sense that we have all the pipelines interlinked, Tema Oil Refinery to the harbor, to the jetty, and then moving to APD, from APD to Mamiota.
Wow.
So there's a network of pipelines over here. So if there were to be fuel in it and the person has succeeded, the whole fuel supply, the power enclave will have been in trouble.
I know. Surprised that those who attempted, your men couldn't apprehend anybody. Are you not surprised?
I'm surprised anyway.
That
we have security over here, we have people around here, yet still nobody was able to apprehend them. Yes. The way forward is we are coming to cover our pipe up, make sure that no part is exposed, and then we deploy more security on the pipeline.
My colleague Ernest Menu joins us once again. Ernest, so the last time your team or the team of journalists visited the Gridco enclave, you were assured that security was being beefed up. So what explanation exactly have they given you as to why this is happening again?
Well, the head of security for Gridco, Major Lawrence Apia, tells us that indeed they have beefed up security, and that is why he thinks that this incident was false. He tells us that he justifies the reason why this thing could have been dangerous. He tells us that the security man who identified what was going on was actually a security man with Gridco who was patrolling those things. And so as far as they are concerned, they have beefed up security. This particular line runs directly behind Gridco and in front of the VRA office. And so in strict terms of operations, it does not really, it's not within their purview, but they have taken upon themselves to assess where take security of the entire area.
About 2 weeks ago, you were here to see a pylon that has been cut down by unknown persons. Whatever they seek, we don't know. But we think that they are not people who want the good of Ghana. We all know how the government is working hard to improve power for all of us to enjoy. Unfortunately, few people are not interested and they are trying to do things to bring it down. Of course, we are not going to sit down and allow it.
Now, Ernest, what's the update on the pylons that were hacked down? Have they been fixed?
Well, they are in the process of being fixed. We saw men on site. I counted as many as 10 at the moment when we were there. They are fixing the pylons, and we understand that very soon these pylons will be back to work. We can hear from the head of the chief engineer in charge of transmission who spoke to us at the site.
We'll get to hear from him. But away from this, Ernest, we understand that Gridco is denying responsibility for the current intermittent outages being experienced in some parts of the country. What's the explanation?
Absolutely. The chief engineer who spoke to us, Ben Atepo, says that as far as they are concerned, they do not have a problem with transmission. And so if we are experiencing intermittent power outages, it could be due to some external factors that is not within the purview of operations of Gridco.
2 was affected. Okay, 2 was affected. If you want to talk about other things that we saw, those are chemicals that were applied even on the 2 that collapsed. It was, we will say we identified 12 other towers that were chemicals, certain chemicals were applied to the boat and not to, maybe to soften it or to weaken it for them to be able to cut it.
Gridco has now asked PDS to suspend its load shedding exercise or the schedule it had, but there are still intermittent power outages in some parts of the country. What was the explanation for that?
No, seriously, I wouldn't say that this has affected, is the cause of outages that is going on. But you can see a lot of lines are here. So the loads that are coming from the generating stations are being carried by the other conductors.
So officials of Gridco interacting with my colleague Ernest Menu on the intermittent power outages that we are experiencing. Now, in a separate development, the Ghana Grid Company has requested PDS to cause power outages from Thursday to Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. This outage is to enable Gridco construct a 330 kV overhead line between Kumasi and Abuadze. Now, in this regard, the following areas will be affected. That's Takwa, Bogoso, Joabezo, Asawinso, and surrounding areas. Now, moving on, a husband of the woman who was washed away by the Sunday flood at Flamingo in the Greater Accra region has been narrating the final moments they tried fleeing from the rising water levels at their residence. Francis Agbagbu says his deceased wife lost grip of their 1-year-old son when she first fell into the water, which had reached their chest level. NADMO confirmed the body of Naomi Agbagbu was found yesterday along the Koligono coastline. Family members say the body of a 1-year-old baby Junior was found today at Agbabloshi. Let's go over the phone line now and speak to my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who's been following this incident. Agbagba, which hospital are you currently and how is the man doing?
Well, I'm at the Shukura Community Hospital. He appears to be doing very well. His speech is now coherent. We are told by the nurses that he slipped into a state of psychological trauma when he was first brought in. When I spoke to him, he told me that he's fine, but for some injuries he sustained on his back, he says he would, have been better.
So what has he been telling you again? Because I know you've been interacting with him further.
Well, he says they were forced to move out from their room into his pickup, but the water level kept, rising. They decided to move from that area. He says on their way, his wife lost grip of their baby, and that was the beginning of the end. He says there were some residents who were on a story building who witnessed the whole incident play out right under their eyes, but they just couldn't help them because the water level was so high.
On Sunday, I was in the bed, and I realized that it's raining. Unfortunately, when I came out, before I saw it's a flood. My wife was shouting, "You should come out." And I said, "Okay." Then that moment that I parked my car outside. I said, "Then let's join the car. Then go to one of my friends. Then when we get to the car, All of a sudden, the car was flood. So we get up. When we get out, I get my baby. That's my child. My child, and I hold him. And I let my wife to follow me. We are crossing. Every time when we are seeing, then another hard water just blow it out. So all of a sudden my wife fall, and I hold her again. Then I hold my baby too. And we are struggling. And my wife to shout me alone. Another one I blow again. And my wife fell. And my wife fell down. Me too. And the baby we started struggle. I can't find them again. I miss them. I miss my wife and my child. 1.5 years. No.
Rather sad situation there, but do you remember this?
I don't know what to say. I don't know. How do I explain this? Please help us. Anyone that can hear me.
Bernard Opon's cry shook the nation 9 months ago when he lost his wife in floodwaters. The death of Aya Hefron sent shivers down the spine of many, leaving a family heartbroken and a community angered. That tragedy was supposed to be the end to the needless deaths the country kept recording due to floods. But though no deaths were recorded in Teshi after Sunday's downpour, my colleague Daniel Datsi visited Teshi Block Factory where the incident occurred and reports little has been done to forestall any incident.
I'm standing by an 11 feet long storm drain running across an uncompleted road here at Block Factory, a suburb of Teshi in Accra. The storm drain is choked with silt, broken trees, leaves, plastic waste and debris. A chilling reminder of the horrific tragedy that took place here a few months ago. Last year, Dr. Aya Hefron, a medical doctor and a new mother, was driving across the stretch, which was then covered with floodwaters. Unfortunately, she did not make it home. The floodwaters carried her about 100 meters down the channel, where she lost her life. Today, the filth, garbage, dead plants that lie on the road show that little progress has been made since the tragedy that struck last year. Although the shops that lined the streets have been removed, residents of the area say little more has been done.
At that time, if you can remember, there's a heavy rain in Accra. So all the place was flooded. Because of the wall, the water cannot pass there to the big gutter over there. We all flooded here. The cast gutter, big gutter from the land to the big gutter over there.
Situation has still not changed at the Teshi area, but let's head to the Ashanti region because the body of a woman who drowned with her 5 children at Asokore Mampong in the Ashanti region remains missing a year after last year's flood in Kumasi and other parts of the Ashanti region. As the rain set in again this year, they are concerned about measures authorities promised to avert a recurrence have taken. Our team of reporters finding out the various scenes of disaster, and according to them, little has changed.
As the rain set in again this year, there are concerns about measures authorities promised to avert the recurrence.
Anoga Johnson, just behind Anyem Clinic, that area where we follow the KMA mayor, the NADMO, and other city authorities to this same point where a lot of temporary structures, illegal structures were demolished. This morning I can see almost all of them are back. And interestingly, now they are building just close to the drain, and it's a mess. It's awful. These squatters are back throwing waste into the drains. Even the concrete, there's the block buildings that they earmarked for demolition are still here.
Here this morning at Asokore Mampong, and I'm standing at the bank of the Tisan River. But as to whether the river is often silted, I can't confirm because there are heaps of sand in the river blocking the course and the path of the river.
So this means that at the slightest downpour, the river will again overflow its bank and flood the whole area. The residents I just spoke with say they can't even recall the last time they saw the river being sheltered by city authorities. And as we are approaching the rainy season, they fear for their lives.
I'm at the airport roundabout and the Boabo storm drain around the place. And I've been asking residents what they think about it. And they think it's about time that city authorities use the internet-generated funds to do all these things because they've been living in these situations for a very long time.
Our reporters from Kumasi bring us up to speed on the flooding situation. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we have sports. And also, Minority in Parliament demands government suspends plans to officially inaugurate the $2 billion Sino-Hydro project tomorrow as they raise concerns about the absence of a value-for-money audit. Details coming up shortly. Thanks for staying with the best here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's do sports now.
I've got a question.
I'm sure they see a lot when they're watching on Facebook Live.
I think so. They love it. They love it. I have a question for you, but on PDS, how many statements have they released ever since we got confirmation that they are the new managers of Power?
I think there have been more statements than Power.
And even on Sundays, there's no company in Ghana that releases a statement on Sundays.
But they do.
I like that efficiency. I like it so much. Trust me. Now, let's talk sports now. And Kumasi Asante Kotoko are in negotiations with Zambian side Zesco United for the sale of two of their key players, Sonny Yakuba and Emmanuel Jemfi. Zesco made enquiries yesterday, and Kotoko replied, and quoted figures as well. But according to the club spokesperson Safu Duku, there is nothing concrete for now.
Well, so far we responded to their request. And in fact, we have given them some figures, but for some reasons, I'm unable to put them out. And so we are awaiting their next response. Now, see, the fact that we've responded to their request does not mean that it's a done deal. Don't forget that quoting figures is also a strategy to even scare off potential buyers. But on our part as management, we are doing everything possible to keep the players. We only allow them to leave when it gets to a point that Ugala Kotoko will be on the losing side. Should we decide to keep them? In that case, we have no other option but to let them go. But for now, we've been talking to the players involved and then trying to persuade them to stay.
You heard Kumasi Asante Kotoko spokesperson Samuel Safuduku talking about the club's decision. They're also interested in holding on to their players, but the money is good. If the money is good, why do you want to hold on to your asset? You can always get players come in. Zesco wants them. Let them go if they meet your evaluation.
Ridwan, thank you. And on the PDS, it wasn't me. You're on your own. Okay. Now, the minority in Parliament is demanding an immediate suspension of plans to officially inaugurate the $2 billion Sino-Hydro project tomorrow until two documents requested by the House ahead of approval are provided. When Parliament debated the agreement last year, minority MPs raised concerns it was brought for approval without a legal opinion from the Attorney General and value-for-money audit as is required by law. The majority assured they will be made available subsequently, but minority spokesperson on Roads and Transport, Kwame Agboja, says that hasn't been done. Speaking to Joy News, he questioned why government is going ahead to inaugurate the project in the absence of the two documents.
Anytime we see government making effort to build roads or build infrastructure, it should be good news to all of us. But the Sino-Hydro agreement that came to Parliament was fraught with so many irregularities, and which was pointed out. You'll notice I allege that this will be one of the most expensive road projects in the country. In other words, an ordinary double-sail road under this contract will be $1.2 million. Very, very expensive, not asphaltic overlay, as compared to any other road we do in this country, which should be $500,000 and other things. Significantly, in that agreement, you'll notice, whereas many agreements that come to this house would have value for money auditing as a condition precedent for the activation of the contract, that was missing in this document. We believe this document was put together not by professionals, but was put together in a rush. So we demanded value for money to be done. We are told value for money is not being done by any reputable company. Some individuals have been selected from Ghana Institute of Surveyors to do some value for money, the report to which is not even known, yet the government is going ahead.
Minority spokesperson on Roads and Transport, Governor Kwame Agboja. Now, town hall meetings, and I understand there was one in the UK, and it looks like those in the diaspora, should I say, are whining again in court?
Yes.
What's happening, Mark?
Okay, so we posted that video on our Facebook page, and I'll be taking some of your comments. At B. Zalant says, corrupt thieves will never allow you to ask a question that will expose you. And this one is from at Chris Mano, who says, I swear, next time, never think that whether in Ghana or abroad is the same. Those icy brains hate corruption and nonsense. And Nira Mark says, it's a pity in this country someone alleged to have been corrupt joins a government delegation for town meeting outside the country. MPP just shocks me. And Ajayamang Ava says, even the moderator is a visa fraudster, so he has to stop the questionnaire before he mentions his name too.
And that's about that video on Mr. Bisiu, that question about Mr. Bisiu on that town hall meeting in the UK. Please stay on Joy. We'll bring you the latest from that meeting that's currently underway between the NPP, the opposition NDC, being mediated by the Peace Council led by Archbishop Duncan Williams. We're on the road to disbanding and disarming party militias. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Thanks for your company.